Hey guys, and welcome to the Hungry Tourist. My name is Sophie and this video is definitely long overdue. This video will tell you all about the top thing. This video will be informing you all about the positives and negatives that you should know before you're going on a Topdeck tour.
And while you're here, why don't you do this girl a solid and subscribe, possibly like the video or comment something down below. Thanks so much!
I had a lot of questions before going on my tour that I could not find any answers to on YouTube or on Facebook or on the Topdeck website. So I decided to compile them into a video and tell you all about it and actually inform you of the positives and the negatives that I felt that the tour offered or put you through. But yeah, make sure to go down into the description below for the different topics that I'll be covering today with time slots next to them, so that you know if you're interested in one particular thing, you can just click on it and go straight to that. I thought I'd answer the question about what is a day like on Topdeck, but I think it's better to ask what is a city like in Topdeck. So let's say that you are traveling from Madrid to Barcelona within Spain. What you do is you'd wake up at about 6 o'clock in Madrid, pack your stuff, and between 6 o'clock and 7:30 you will have your breakfast and you should be putting your bag onto the coach within that time frame. 7:30 sharp or 8 o'clock you are leaving the hostel and you are basically traveling the whole day. Most of the time you will be on there till about 5 to 6 o'clock in the afternoon. You will stop every 2 hours for either 15 to 45 minutes. That is all dependent on what time of the day it is. They are for toilet breaks, lunch and afternoon tea. But because of the European Union rules, bus drivers need to take a rest every 2 hours, so that actually slows you down completely. So you woke up at 7:30, got to your accommodation at about 5 to 6 o'clock in Barcelona. You spend the whole day traveling. When you arrive, you put your stuff down in the hostel rooms, and then the tour leader that you have will tell you, hey, let's meet downstairs at, I don't know, 7 o'clock if you arrived at 6, because you'll either have an included dinner or an included tour on that day. So 6 o'clock you checked in and you have about an hour to take a shower from the day spending on the bus. And just to clarify, you've been traveling for 12 hours before you need to be downstairs at 7 o'clock to go into the city. Now, I'll get to this in a bit later, but the accommodation 99% of the time is quite far away from the actual city itself that you're staying in. Most of the accommodation you have to actually take the bus there and then the bus back if you didn't want to pay 60 euros for a taxi, which is a lot more than 60 Australian dollars, let me tell you. So you meet downstairs at 7 o'clock and you have the rest of that afternoon / night, if you don't want to go back with the bus, at about 9 o'clock to the accommodation to spend in the city. So basically you have from 7 till about 9, let's say, which is about 3 hours. You have the next day completely to yourself, so you can do whatever you want in the city. You can be in the city the whole day. So in the morning the bus will drop you off in the middle of the city and then you can do whatever you like the whole day, and the next morning you're waking up at 6 o'clock again and you're leaving at about 7:30 to go to the next city. You have basically a full day and about 3 hours the night before. It's not 3 days, it's not 2 nights and 3 days, no. The next morning you're leaving at 7:30-ish, depends on where you're going of course, to get to your next destination, and you don't get time in the morning to sightsee. Next up on our list is accommodations, which I thought was quite an interesting topic to discuss. A lot of people asked how and what kind of accommodation we're going to be staying at. You get your accommodation list about 2 weeks prior you're leaving. There were some really great accommodations and there were some not great accommodations. So the main concern for most of us was, with all of the accommodations, for most of them, sorry, is that they were very far from the actual city center. For example, in Bordeaux in France, the accommodation was really nice, but it was a good 30 to 40 minute bus drive from the city center. It may not be an issue for you if you have a car and you live there, etc. But if you do not speak the language, it's a foreign city, you'll only be there for a day and a little bit. For you to be reliant on the bus driver to take you there and bring you back really extremely, I don't know what the word for it is, limits you. That's the word. Because if you didn't catch the bus back to the accommodation, you had to catch an Uber or a taxi back from the accommodation. And let me tell you, they're bloody expensive in Europe. When you're on a budget, especially when you're on a holiday, you can't be affording to be paying every second day 60 euros for a taxi to take you back to the accommodation that you're staying at because you couldn't catch the bus beforehand. But you have to look at your priorities. Will you sacrifice the time in the city or will you sacrifice that $60? You have the next day, but as I said, the more time you get to spend in the cities, the better. I want to say some positives. Amsterdam, Madrid, Barcelona and Paris were amazing accommodations. Really central, really modern, really clean. Madrid was probably my favorite. It was really funky. I loved it. Anyway, I put some links down in the below to show you where exactly we stayed, but some of the negative ones they included in Switzerland was not that great, but it was borderline. Shower cubicles were unisex, which I have no issues with, except for the fact that between the cubicles there were 20cm gaps, so you could go and look straight into the cubicle. I'm not kidding about the 20cm gaps. I could put my head through it, and I have a massive forehead. Also, Valencia was horrible. There was mold on the sheet, there was mold on the walls, and there was mold in the shower. The shower did not want to turn on for longer than 5 seconds. And Florence was an hour bus ride out of the city, up in the mountains. There was only one bus that left because it needed to leave at 8 to get into the city at 9. And the problem was not that there was an hour and a half and I wanted to go to the bus. The problem was there was literally no public transport to get into the city. You have to take the bus, or you take a taxi, which cost one of the guys 120 euros. Anyway, one bus that takes you there and that bus takes you back. And it went from 8 o'clock in the morning at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. There's so much time that was wasted on that. What if they made it 8 o'clock in the afternoon? Extra 3 hours. You get back at 9, so what? Party doesn't start till about 11 anyway. Everyone's pre-drinking. That was just really disappointing. Again, this is just my perspective on things. It might be completely different. You think, hey, I'm gonna walk that. The Wi-Fi, the free Wi-Fi that everyone raves about on the bus is, let me tell you, 650 megabytes. Not per day, for the whole tour. I was never on my phone on the bus. I didn't download YouTube. What I did do is message people, like my mom, on Messenger. And I did it for about an hour per day. So it lasted me roughly 5 days on the bus. Problem is, most people didn't realize that it was not for a day, it was for the whole tour. And to purchase more Wi-Fi, it costs you a gigabyte for 75 euros. Okay, optional activities, very exciting topic. I just want to touch a few things on that. One is that not all optional activities will go ahead that are listed. It will all depend on how many people are signing up for it. What the tour guide does is she hands around a list and you put down your name on it if you want to do that optional activity. And when it comes to actually paying for the optional activity, if there's not enough people, they will cancel the optional activity. Another thing to consider is that the prices do go up and down all the time, but it's not really in any way like the tour guide's fault or Topdeck's fault whatsoever. It's just be prepared for these things and be prepared with extra cash. Also, some of them are actually not listed on the list that we get. I think this was really good from our tour leader. So always trying to find things to do for us extra that were not on the list, so extra experiences which were really good. But yeah, make sure to have some extra cash in mind in case that you hear of one of these new activities that were not on the list and you want to do them. Next one is inclusion. I want to talk about included food, included activity, whatever you read on the actual website and whether or not that matched what you were given. I think it did most of the time, except for the wording of them is a bit weird. For example, it talks about them taking you to the Loire Valley to see some chateaus. I don't know if I said that right. People kind of felt a bit weird about that it's written that the visit to the chateau is included, and of course everyone assumed that that means we're going in, when in reality for you to go in you actually have to pay for it, so it wasn't really included. So that was one of the only things that people felt a bit weird about. The meals that I want to talk about was the breakfast and the dinners. It's a hostel budget trip. I don't think you should be expecting very amazing food all the time, because that is something you have to pay for. And if you're paying a budget amount for a tour across the continent of Europe, you should not be expecting more than for what you're paying for, in my opinion. But there were some really bad dinners, I'm not gonna lie, but there were some really nice dinners too. Madrid was absolutely amazing. We had tapas, which was really nice. In Barcelona, that also had the paella, which was really nice as well. In Paris, we had that finger food dinner kind of thing. It was so good. You get to eat snails, you could eat frogs, and you had different kind of special French delicacies that I didn't have beforehand, so that was really nice. The food in Venice and the food in Florence were both also really good. In Switzerland, however, the chicken was undercooked, it was really not great, and in Bordeaux, the beef was so overcooked that I couldn't cut it with my knife. I'm not a big breakfast person, so I don't think I can comment on that. I don't like eating breakfast if it's not hot breakfast. 23 days I was there, only three of those had actual hot breakfast in the morning. So I'd like to talk about solo travel. I was really nervous going into this. As much as I've done a little bit of solo travel, it wasn't as long and it wasn't as serious as this one. And I was very, very nervous about not finding friends and etc. I don't know, such a silly thing to be worried about now that I look back. Because to be fair, I wasn't there to make friends. And it may sound so horrible. It's not that I didn't. I did make friends. I made some amazing friends. But you are there to experience the city and the country and the culture and the activities that you're partaking in. You are there for yourself and you are there for your experience. 99% of the people were solo travelers on my tour. Out of the 53 people, there was 2 pairs of siblings, a couple. Oh, and there were 3 cousins. And out of 53 people, that's not a lot. So there was loads of opportunities to meet people and to be friends with them and to, you know, mingle and such. And if you're quite an anxious person like I am about meeting new people, everyone's going there for the exact same reason. They're going there just like you are to meet friends and to see the cities. It is a very chilled environment and people are there to have fun and to explore, appearance, travel and experience the country that you're in. Everything's gonna be okay. And you know what? If you want to be by yourself, be by yourself. Don't deny yourself some solo time as well. Next up, I'd like to discuss what the pace was like for this tour and also whether or not I would recommend doing these kinds of tours because of the nature of the tour, not because of the type of company I did it with or anything like that. These two things kind of tie in together because the reason I wouldn't want to do a tour like this again was because of the pace. So the pace, what really annoyed me was that we had a day and a half in a city. And you know this before going into it, but you don't comprehend how significant of a small time that is. You know how to get to the city in your own local suburb. You know which bus to take straight away. You know where to go to eat. You know where to go to shop. You know your local area. So you don't understand how much time is actually put into figuring out public transport, making sure you get off at the right stop, finding shops or restaurants to go to, and finding the sightseeing spots that you've never been to in your life. It's very, very time consuming. And when you have a day and a half in a city, you can't afford to spend so much time on just trying to find your way around the city because you're not going to be enjoying your time there. So the pace itself was very fast paced. A day and a half is not enough to see a city. That's the honest truth. And if I could go back in time right now and replan the whole thing, I'm afraid I would. It was a good experience. If I look back, I feel like I wasted a lot of time on figuring out where I'm going and how I'm going and looking for a good restaurant that didn't cost an arm and a leg. And I feel like if I wasn't rushed because the bus was leaving, I would have been able to experience and enjoy my time there a lot better. You just need to keep that in mind, that you are spending a lot of money for something that is very rushed, and you come back and I personally feel unsatisfied with what I've seen and what I've done. And I feel like I could have done a lot more and I could have experienced a lot more if I planned it myself. But yeah, so these are all the things I wanted to discuss today, and I know that not all of them are very positive. I did try to highlight some of the positives that I thought were good. Please consider this because you are spending a lot of money on this. But I really hope if you end up going to Topdeck that you'll enjoy it. I want to hear all about it down there in the comments, and if I could help you with anything, make sure to ask down there in the comment section. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you may have. I'll be putting loads of different links in the description as well, so make sure to check that out. And thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!